So we're running a little bit behind schedule, so that means we're going to just take our time and go even more behind schedule. We'll screw with the person after me over anything. I understand you guys spent a long day of seminaring and tasting and learning and all kinds of things. Am I right? Or? Yeah. So we're going to do a little bit of learning, just a little bit. We're mostly going to have fun, you know. You've got a long day, you deserve it. We are going to do a little bit of learning though, I'm sorry, just can't help it. I'm down here in Tampa, I have to take advantage of you wonderful people in the way that I prefer the most, which is using your brain. If you guys don't know me, my name is Lynch. I am the master blender at WhistlePig. I'm very happy to be here for the first time ever in Tampa. Ingrid has been trying to get me down here for God knows how long. We finally made it happen. And I swear I'm not only happy because it's 12 degrees and 20 feet of snow in Vermont. It's a lovely place, a lot of fun stuff. I'm most happy to be here to talk about WhistlePig whiskey with you guys. If you're unfamiliar with the brand, I'll just give you a little quick backstory. It's been around since about 2007, 2008 in one way, shape, or form. We started as a decrepit dairy farm with really no purpose. Big old guy, you may know the name of, named Big Pickerel, came through, really changed that around. We started out with 10 years, so classic flagship, still is to this day the thing that got us off the ground and keeps us rolling. It's probably the reason why most of you people know us at all and are here today. However, the 10 year was just the start of something great and new for us. We're talking 2010, 2011, right? Craft whiskey's kind of just coming out, just starting to be a thing. We're just starting to care about it. People are sourcing whiskey properly, and yeah, back then, you know, there might have been some shady practices, people labeling things in certain ways, yada yada. I like to think we're at a pretty good point now, where people are embracing where they come from, and we're enjoying the juice that. Come on in, guys, take a seat. Feel free. Started a little early without you guys. I heard you were coming. We did this on. We're moving along. The 12 year you may be familiar with as well. That was our second product, if you will. And that's really where WhistlePig starts to get its identity, in a sense. We're known now for innovation. You know, we've got our Boss Hog line. Every year we've got something new, different, exciting, innovative cask finishes. 15 years, using very old Canadian rye whiskey no one ever seen at that age point, and then finishing a brand new charred Vermont oak. What we're going to see is there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes that you guys may not even know about on that innovation side, on that specific, pushing that boundary of finishing, of blending, and taking rye whiskey to the next level. So what we're doing here today is a little bit of learning, like I said, but mostly what we're going to do is get our hands dirty. I'm basically going to tell you guys what I do every now and then, you know, when I get to sit down, lock myself in my lab for a couple days, couple weeks, couple months, but we've only got about an hour, hour and a half to do this. So we're going to do a little rapid fire. We've got a lot of whiskey in front of us. The first step to getting to
We had a lot of whiskey.
we had a lot of whiskey, now we have a little bit less, so that's all right. That's part of the job, you know. Every now and then you'll fill a finishing barrel and it's great, you know, 3 weeks, it's great, 3.5 weeks, it's great. 3.5 weeks in one day, it's all leaked out on the ground, like that, yeah. Try using different types of oak, that really, you know, really likes to leak quite a bit. So we've got 6 different whiskeys in front of us, a little bit less over there, but that's all right. The first step to being a blender, to making whiskey, which is what we're doing here today. We're going to make our very own whiskey. You'll notice on the right, you've got a little clear bottle that's empty. That thing's going to be full by the end of the day. Step number 1, we got to know our whiskey. So what we're doing here today is we're taking a 12-year-old plus. I'll tell you actually it's 14 years old. We just like to, you know, throw whiskey that's a little overage in the bottle. We're going to take this 12-year-old base whiskey, which is the first top left whiskey in your glass, and we're going to get to know it a little bit. That's the first step in even finishing whiskey. We've got an idea of what we want to do, right? We've got all these different finishing casks. We have spirit casks, we have wine casks, we have everything between, different wood casks. That doesn't mean that it's going to yield a good finish for any whiskey at all. We know that we love port finishes, but if you put a super, super heavy, earthy, grainy rye whiskey into a nice sweet barrel like that, it's going to overwhelm it completely. You might get no impact whatsoever. So first steps first is getting to know this whiskey. This is a whiskey that I'm pretty familiar with. You might know, but I want to hear your guys' takes on it. This base whiskey, for me, is one of the most perfect whiskeys to finish in any barrel. And I'll get into that a little bit. We'll actually taste and see the proof in the pudding a little bit. But I want to get you guys are picking up from this whiskey itself. Just feel free to yell things at me. We'll get a good idea of what we're working with here, which is going to be important going forwards as we start to craft our own whiskey. A little bit of dill, there you go. So that's that classic note that people love to pick up on the MGPI-based whiskeys. Nice, herbaceous.
Less
A
whiskey.
little bit less. If you're not aware, these are two very skinny tables pushed together, and I definitely did a great job putting the bottles right next to the pole. So that's definitely my fault. You can blame it all on me. I'll happily take the blame. But yeah, that nice herbaceous sort of tone to it. That dilly, minty, a nice rounded character. Anise, exactly. There you go. I always get a nice sweetness as well. Sweetness is a very general term which goes in a lot of different ways, but I like to start basic, especially with the new group of people. We want to get a nice sort of same vocabulary. So I get the nice sweetness from this, but you might be able to elaborate on that a little bit more for me. Yeah, a little bit of honey, so there you go, absolutely. Get a little fruitiness in there as well. It's a really overall mellow whiskey. It's not really jumping out and punching me in the face with anything huge, right? It's got a lot of good base flavor, but one of the keys to finishing whiskey properly is that it can accept flavor as well. If you've got a huge, bold, in-your-face whiskey, you have to finish that in a certain way. This year's Boss I actually was talking to these guys over here is a great example. That was only in cask for about a month and a week. However, that month and a week didn't have an amazing impact, whereas we're going to taste some even shorter finishes that have a huge impact because of that base whiskey being so huge as is. Starting with a nice, mellower, very characteristic, but room to grow whiskey, that's always a great jumping off. So we've got something here that we've said is, herb, a little bit sweet and fruity. Any other sort of flavors we're looking for here, picking up, something like that? Dry oak. There you go, some dry oak on the back palate, yeah, side palate, absolutely. It's got some good spice to it. And granted, not just pepper spice, but baking spices as well. We're talking about that cinnamon, that cardamom, that nutmeg, and whatnot. Those are the classic rye flavors that we're dealing with. Now, we've got to know this base whiskey a little bit. And as the blender, as somebody who's looking to source casks to build something up, and if we just go back in time to 2014, 2013, when WhistlePig proper was working on this product Old World, we start to try with the casks. But again, not every cask works perfectly. Back in the day, we're trying everything from Aquavit to Muscat to PX, and all these things work pretty well, but again, it's all about finishing it for the right amount of time. We ultimately ended up on these three finishes that we'll taste next: Madeira, Sauterne, and Port. These finishes are beautiful, lovely, all sweet fortified wines, all somewhat similar, especially the Port Madeira in style. And I'll elaborate a little bit more on that. Wildly different finishes. Step 2 to getting to know your whiskey is understanding you have to get to know a lot of whiskey. So what I recommend is we're going to actually nose through the next 3 before we even think about tasting them. Just get an idea of what's different.
Quick question.
Yes, Eddie.
Oh, thank you. You did mention dill, and I get that dill. Is that a rye thing, or where is that coming from?
So that's going to be a little bit of rye, a little bit of barrel extract as well. I'm going to talk a little bit more about why rye finishes so well, but in general, we're going to have that as a classic rye flavor in new make spirit. As it interacts with extractives from the oak, those flavors, it's a process called esterification, people know it as, but in general, alcohols and other compounds in the whiskey will interact with oak extracts and transform from something typically negative to a positive flavor. So we'll get a lot of herbaceous tones. Additionally, a sort of wood extract known as lactones will give you a bit of that dilly, depending on how you heat treated it, and it could be a toasted sort of oak flavor as well. But specifically here, we're looking at a Char 3 barrel. It spent all its life in this classic Char 3. It's mostly a distillate flavor, which after 14 years, you'd expect to lose quite a bit of distillate character, but we've held on to it quite a bit here. So we're going to be probably looking at it from most of the distillate, a bit from that oak as well, and the interaction of the two. I love to say though, it's really, really hard to say this flavor comes from this source unless you're the guy who's made this whiskey every step of the way. Granted, I've had this whiskey for the past several years, I've done some fun things with it, but I didn't ferment it, I didn't mash it, I didn't distill it, I didn't put it into cask. So I can't say exactly, oh yeah, that new make had this character here, and it carried through after year 5, year 10, etc. Again, feel free to ask questions at any time. Seriously, interrupt me. I'd love that. The more you guys talk, the less I talk, and the happier I am. So, anyways, back to these 3 whiskeys. We're breaking out into kind of finding the sweet spot for this base whiskey. This is 2014, 2015. We're not seeing a lot of finished whiskeys on the market quite yet, and even more so, we're not seeing a lot of finished ryes. What makes these whiskeys unique too is the short finish. I want you guys to nose these whiskeys and just give me an idea of how long you think they've been finished. I just gave a little bit away. Those 3 first ones are going to be pretty picturesque of what WhistlePig is all about in terms of its specific profile. There may be a prize for whoever gets closest. I'm here in 5 days. I'm here in 30 days. 45 days. There you go. 50 days. Oh God, wow, you guys are really all over the place here.
Price is right.
$1.
3 months. Okay, there we go. Anybody else? We got some final answers here.
120 days.
120 days. Okay, so
121 days.
Price is right.
yeah, save these glasses.
19.
2 days. Now, 2 weeks in barrel. That's all it takes to get this extra, we like to call it a top note, a little extra complexity, a bit of nuance, but we've got a really good whiskey here to start. Like I said, it needs a little something extra to elevate it a bit more, but we don't want to overwhelm it. What we're all about at WhistlePig is taking rye whiskey, preserving that inherent base character, and elevating it just a little bit. You see that in Boss Hog, but more than anything, you see that in the 12-year, in these specific finishes. So each of these 3 glasses, Madeira, Port, and Sauterne, the 3 main finishes that make up our classic standard 12-year-old, only go into cask for about 2 weeks. And maybe a bit more in the wintertime. Typically, we're going to get less extraction overall when it's colder. However, we're only looking to give it a little something extra. And the reason I point that out so much is we're going to taste some more whiskeys on the right side there, which have completely different finish nights, completely different cask sizes and everything. And you're going to notice the flavor impact is not necessarily overwhelming, even with a much longer finish. With these 3 main finishes, we love to do a little special program where basically I'll get some people in a room, we'll do exactly what we're doing here now, we'll taste through the finishes, we'll have you blend up something special with your own percentages. I kind of decided we had a little room to run here, gave you guys some extra whiskeys, and we're basically going to have a lot of fun and just make whatever we want, bring it home with us. But again, we got to get back to knowing these whiskeys. So this is the part where I kind of want you guys to get into a team mentality. I'm going to bob around with you guys. We're going to spend as much time as we can, 10, 15 minutes, tasting through not just these 3 whiskeys, but the other 2, which we'll come back up here and talk about a little more. And I don't want to put any flavor ideas in your mind. That's why I'm not really talking about these whiskeys too much. It's really important to keep it sort of central to yourself and the group you're working with. We're going to basically just sit here, taste these whiskeys, know them, get to know them, and most importantly, think about them as a harmony, as a union. Because ultimately, you're going to pick any number of these whiskeys. Could be all 6 of them, including this base whiskey. Could be 2 of them. We're going to make some sort of blend that is indicative of the flavor profile that we like the best. And for you, it might be super sweet. For you, it might be dry as hell. Might be something in between over here. We're not going to know until we get to know these whiskeys a bit better. The caveat here is, again, in real life, I'm doing this every day, all day long. I'm locking myself away, months long, getting an idea when my palate's great, when my palate's terrible, when I'm sick, when I'm not, etc., when I'm hungry, when I'm tired. Give you a full idea of what this whiskey can be. And furthermore, the second you taste one whiskey, the next whiskey you taste will be influenced by even the lingering flavors. So you can imagine by whiskey 7, 8, by blend 20, blend 30, you're really losing something there. Kind of bastardizing the process here, but it's almost all the more fun for it. So without further ado, let's get to tasting a little bit. We're gonna get to the fun part too. Yes? How do I cleanse my palate? Great question.
Yeah.
I don't. No. And depending on the day, really, oftentimes it'll just be water. Oftentimes it'll be just kind of black coffee, sort of works a little bit well for me. Time is the best thing. Additionally, there's a certain point you reach where you know your palate well enough, where you know, okay, I've just tasted this. I know that my palate's changing, but I'm still picking up this oak spice flavor. You take that into account. Granted, you take that into account, but also know that you have to taste this whiskey by itself, unadulterated. Crackers, we have some fantastic, disgusting, dry wheat crackers up at the farm, just really dries your palate out completely. Bland is good when it comes to palate cleansers. We don't even have water here today, which is nice and rough and tumble. I see some black coffees here actually, which may work or not for you. The reason black coffee works is it's such a neutral kind of bland flavor, not too robust. If you have a super heavy coffee, that will definitely taint your palate a bit. But I'll have some like, just black, watery coffee, swish my mouth out with it, spit it out, something like that. Gives me a baseline. Then I know the flavor of black coffee, that's what I'm tasting like. So it's different for everybody. Black coffee may not work for you at all. Water, bubbly water even works for me pretty well. But for the purposes of now, I wouldn't worry too much about palate fatigue. I would just know you're gonna get palate fatigue. Absolutely. So again, I recommend kind of hanging out with yourself and with your group because it's helpful to talk about these whiskeys, and expand your horizons outside of just your own little seat here. and with a mind towards how they're going to work together. And when we blend, I'm going to give you a few pointers before you get into it, because much like it is when I'm blending, we're not blending up giant, 100,000 mils samples at once. We're doing very small, 10, 30 mils. We're being conservative, because every drop we use is a drop that you can't take. So without further ado, let's get to it here. Let me see it. Or, oh. We may have a slot. So when it comes to something like this, I would literally use